melodica because I think they're cool.
They're fun.
They look like a lot of fun. We used one in a show once here.
I used to have a melodica that I got on discount at a thrift shop that the last key was flat, so it would be like, so
had a little pitch bend into it.
It sounded like it was just like the last kid picked in sports. Okay.
So anyway, previously on Let's Watch Something, we watched Cats. And
sure did.
I said that there was an opportunity for it to be a Rocky Horror type of screening party piece.
Everyone dress up in spandex and throw glitter everywhere and crawl on each other and eat cat food.
Sing the songs, you know.
Oh, there's songs?
Make fun
I
of
forgot
it,
everyone's
get drunk.
genitals. All I cared about was their genitals.
I compared it to what we watched this week, which is REPO, the genetic opera.
REPO.
This is everything
Can't feel nothing at all.
that Cats should have had in it. It was
sexy.
It's sexy. It's also real campy
and violent.
So violent.
Gory. And sexy. The music is my favorite part.
The music is great.
And the atmosphere is dark.
Oh, they nailed everything perfectly. I think the only drawback is this movie needed a bigger budget.
See, I agree to an extent. I definitely think that there needed to be a bigger budget for sure. But I think there could have some of the performances, not all of them, because most of them were great. Majority of them were great.
There's two that stick out for me.
Two,
you know, Luigi and Pavi stick out as the worst.
The wah wah.
Yeah, which is a bummer because as an opera, it's an ensemble piece, and the ensemble, for the most part, is killer.
There's one, like, okay, while I think that the main actress was decent and well, she's a good actress, she's a good kid, whatever. I think that so they could have done better with someone who had a little more singing prowess.
Now, that was Alexa Pena Vega of Spy Kids fame.
Spy Kids.
I watched all the Spy Kids movies.
I didn't.
I didn't even like them when I was a kid.
Yeah, she's not a terrible actress.
She's not, and she wasn't a terrible singer either. I thought she was pretty good.
She's not bad, but I think that with this, I think that they needed someone who was a little more versatile, who could do like the clean, soft, kind of like innocent sounding stuff.
She did some of that stuff okay, and she has that solo at the end where she's belting out a little bit more.
A little bit more, and it wasn't terrible. It could have been better, and it could have been done by someone a little bit better. I'm not saying that she was bad, and I'm not saying that it was a bad choice, but I'm sure there could have been someone better for certain songs that she did. Needed someone with a little more power, a little more rasp, a little more grungy sound.
Like her song Infected and the song 17 would have definitely benefited from a raspier vocalist. My
suggestion for that would be Taylor Momsen of the Cindy Lou Who. She played Cindy Lou Who when she was little, and then she grew up to be this little rocker chick who is absolutely really hot, which makes me feel uncomfortable saying, because I love her as a little Cindy Lou Who. I was like, oh my god, she's the cutest little thing, and then she grows up to be like an adult, and I'm like, oh dang. Wow. So, her voice, and obviously she's an actress, but her voice, you need to check her band out.
And what's it called?
The Pretty Reckless. I love them, actually, by the way.
So that's our lead out of the way, but as I pointed out, operas are never about one particular person. Mm-hmm. It's an ensemble piece, and this story intertwines a few other people.
Well, let's actually, I think for anybody who's listening that doesn't really know what's going on, how do we break it down for them?
I got a nice 98-minute answer for you. It's called Watch the Movie.
98 minutes.
I'm on the IMDb page so that I can pull up facts.
Nerd.
I would say watch this movie. It's a great movie.
It's pretty awesome.
So if you've seen it, which by now you should have because you can pause this, it opens up with a comic book vignette of setting the world of a dystopian future.
Not too far in the future, allegedly.
And it's all controlled by GeneCo, which leases out organs to people that are sick, and you can make payments on it. And then if you fall behind on your payments, they send the Repo Man
which is my new father, by the way,
to repossess your organs.
He can take my organs.
Yes, Anthony Head, who plays
Giles from Buffy,
who is our protagonist's father in this movie,
who's also kind of a bit of like what would you call, like, he's definitely not a good guy.
He's an anti-hero.
There you go.
That's
Deadpool.
the word.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's not Deadpool. He's not nearly attractive enough.
Do you want to fight? Oh, okay, no, Ryan Reynolds is beautiful.
He's my one. Anthony Head.
Giles.
I've never seen Buffy.
You're fine with that. That's okay.
I said that he is emanating some big dad energy, and Jack corrected me by saying that is some father energy.
It's beyond daddy and dad. He is father.
He's amazing.
His voice.
His voice is incredible. If you don't have the time to sit through the movie, check out the soundtrack. There are some killer songs on the soundtrack, and his first
comes in a little glass of wine.
There's Zydrate, but Anthony Head, Nathan Wallace, his first song in the movie is called "Legal Assassin," and it's incredible. It sets the tone for the rest of the movie. Let me backtrack a little bit. I've jumped ahead. What I never liked about this movie, which is surprising Jack because I did nothing but sing its praises the whole time. The opening is terrible.
What?
After the first song, after our narrator, the grave robber, sings about he's great. That is a daddy.
Shh, don't talk about that. You're making my never mind.
You're making my tits hot.
You're making daddy's nipples hot. oh yeah.
The grave robber sets the tone incredibly for the opening.
My grave.
So the grave robber sings the titular Repo Man song. Well, it's not really titular.
Titular. Titties.
I told Jack this was an R-rated movie, so you can be...
I can say fuck as much as I want. Fuckity, fuck, dick, fuck, ass. I'm a goddamn adult. I can swear.
So, getting back on track. The grave robber set the tone really powerfully in that opening song addressing the camera. And then we follow Shiloh, played by Alexa Pena-Vega. And that whole sequence with Spy Girl, it feels like it lacks focus and it's not well paced because you're kind of just following her.
She's a little boring.
Through the tunnel. She's a little bit boring for the first 20 minutes or so.
A couple minutes.
Yeah, up until her song "Infected," which is when I fell in love with this movie. Was you can hook me easily, but it takes a lot to get me to fall in love, and I started falling in love at "Infected."
I fell in love as soon as I saw the father. Yeah.
So as much as I do love that song, it's another part of my problem. There's a lot of erratic, bad jump cuts in the song, and it made me feel kind of sick. And Jack brought up a good point that
it might have been the point to do that,
right?
Because the entire song is about being ill, being infected, being sick.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, I'm weird. I think of things.
So we meet our hero, the protagonist Shiloh Wallace, and she is sick. She sneaks out to visit her mother's grave and look at bugs.
and catch bugs for some reason, which is kind of almost irrelevant. But
it is. It never plays out into anything. It doesn't go anywhere. Let's talk about another trope.
There you go.
Called Chekhov's gun. You notice how I started the sentence over so I can cut it? So, Chekhov's gun comes from Anton Chekhov, a playwright from way back in the day. Back in the day, because I dropped out of college, and I don't know when he was an active writer.
I never went to college.
Chekhov's gun is the concept that if you show a gun in the first act of the play, you have to use it in the third act. It doesn't just boil down to foreshadowing. It's using everything correctly. Nothing is being wasted. Because if you showed a gun and people got into a fight and somebody died and you stabbed them,
what happened to the gun?
Why did you show the gun? So Chekhov's gun with the bugs. She didn't go out to look at bugs. She went out to visit her mother's grave. There could have been something else that got her to exit the mausoleum. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest problem with the opening, really.
Well,
that and the cinematography on Infected. She
heard a noise, which, by the way, there was a perfectly good reason why she could have heard that noise, because Grave Robber was right there.
Grave Robber, he was right there, and he was screaming.
Oh, well, that's one part of the song, though. He just kind of like, ah! And then
he was what?
What?
He was what?
Oh boy.
So as much as I have some issues with the pacing of the beginning of this movie, it does hook you really well with all of the grave robber scenes.
Grave robber is a babe. He's a dirty, filthy little grave robber, and he could do nasty things to people.
Every one of his songs is the best.
They're sexy. Everything about this movie is sexy, even the gore.
Yes.
Well, no, actually, I'm going to be honest, and I kind of flinched and winced and looked away during certain gore scenes.
The gore
is really bad for me, because, like,
the gore's pretty well done.
Yeah. Like, I had to look away because somebody was ripping out somebody's stomach, and I'm like, oh boy, yeep, not going to handle that. But overall, the gore.
So this movie had an estimated budget of $8 million.
Is that a lot? For a movie?
Not really. Because you got a lot of people to pay, a lot of artists to pay. And opening weekend in the United States, $53,684.
That was so, honestly though, it's a huge underground hit. Like, I promise you. Like, all of my weird goth friends love this shit.
I love it.
Well, you're not my weird goth friend. You're my nerd friend.
So...
You're kind of like a goth kid at heart, though.
I am. I really am. A little bit. I'm a goth kid that doesn't like to dress goth. It grossed $188,000 worldwide.
I gross a lot of things, too.
Off of a budget of $8.5 million. This movie is not a success.
It's a success in my heart.
It is for me, too. So we meet the grave robber. Things really start rolling when we learn that the repo man we're told to fear is Shiloh's father.
My father.
Again, in that song, Legal Assassin. This is not a spoiler. This is the first 10 minutes of the movie.
He's my father.
Once that slow-paced opening, and by slow pacing, I mean 5 minutes, really.
Honestly, just watch it anyway.
Watch it.
Just
watch it.
Watch it.
10-minute episode. Watch it. I haven't even gotten to the good stuff because I do have to say if I have to pick a favorite, it would be our antagonist / anti-hero, Rotti Largo.
He isn't an anti-hero. He is 100% absolute antagonist. He is 100% the villain 100% of the time. There is nothing good about that man. He saves people's lives only to get their money and rip things apart. If he doesn't care if they live or die.
Nobody ever says capitalism only works in theory.
Capitalism does not work. Don't get me started on this.
I won't. Don't even get me started.
Don't get me started.
Up. You're pulling my ripcord. You're getting me started. I'm making a lawnmower joke motion here. I really do think that Rotti Largo, who was played by the guy from Goodfellas, Paul Sorvino, I think he was great.
He's a
good movie has a good villain. Repo has a good villain.
He's a good villain. Not a good guy, but a good villain.
And he's a great villain.
Very believable as a bad guy. I could see him and hate him, and I'm okay with it.
We can't talk about Roddy without talking about his children.
Oh no, those things.
Those horrible fuckers.
Yuck. Okay, first off, I'm going to go ahead and say their performances as actors were absolute garbage for the most part.
For the most part. Who would have thought that the best performance of the three children was going to be Paris Hilton?
Fucking Hilton. She's just, her voice makes me like want to just drill a fucking hole into my head though. Like it's like faked so hard.
It is. You can tell that she required a lot of vocal training that did not stick.
And it's like, and I'm like, I just want to just fucking drill a hole into my head so I don't have to hear her anymore.
Now, saying that her voice wasn't great doesn't mean her performance was bad.
Her acting was actually, so it was campy, but I think it was meant to be campy, and that was good.
She was perfect for this part.
Go ahead and say what you told me.
So this comes off of the behind the scenes commentary, but the original screenplay had two sons, and Paris Hilton, who had heard about the project, wanted to be involved, showed up at an audition, and as they described it, dressed for the part. And so they cast her and wrote a part for her. So the character was created for Paris Hilton. Mm-hmm. I believe. I could be wrong. But I do know for a fact that all of the outfits that she wore were hers.
Which is fantastic because they're all fucking awesome, actually. I loved every single thing that she wore in it. I loved her hair in it. I loved, her style in this movie was so fucking dark and sexy and slutty. But, not in a bad no, there's no bad slutty.
I was just about to say that, but I was taking a sip of water.
Water.
There's no bad sluts. Just sluts that are bad at being sluts.
Me.
We've gotten the high point out of the way. Let's talk about the low point here.
The low point.
That's Luigi and Pavi Largo.
Wah, wah, wah.
Their characters are not badly written. They're badly performed. This is 100% a shortcoming of the actors. Mm-hmm. I strongly believe.
Which is a bummer because Bill fucking Moseley, okay? He's been in House of a Thousand Corpses, and what were the other Rob Zombie movies that he's been in? Y'all, if you've watched Repo, you've probably watched The House of a Thousand Corpses and all the other ones too. So, he is a maniac, madman, psycho killer, and he's amazing in those. And I will never deny that kind of respect for him.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to just, avert my eyes when he was on screen because it was a bummer. He was overplaying it. And,
he's overacting, and it's not good.
There's, campiness to, just kind of, play it up. And then he was just, making these mouth movements that I was just, not understanding. He curled his lip up like an Elvis, half the time, "Urgh!" And
like I said, though, these characters aren't poorly written. There's not a lot to Luigi Largo, though. He has a temper.
He's got a temper. He likes to murder the fuck out of people. Just don't you say that to my sister. I'll stab, 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 stab.
Mostly murder people off screen, too, because we just hear that he kills people.
Oh, he's stabbed a
We see him stab a couple of people,
and then they just bled out and left to die. I mean, technically, it's the bleeding out that kills him, not him.
If you want to be technical, yeah. The other of the two brothers, who I think is the better of the two, would be...
the better performance.
Yeah, Pavi Largo, who is obsessed with beauty, and he affixes people's faces over his face.
Mm-hmm. Which is fantastic.
Gross as hell.
Here's the thing, though. Love the skin you're in, even if it's somebody else's.
Oh, absolutely. Which is weird. I mean, it looks great, and the design of it was great, and it's put on well.
What they do is they just clip faces to his face.
Which, it looks good. It reminds me of, there's a run of Batman where the Joker cuts his face off and then puts it on after a while, puts it on just like Pavi wears faces. And the skin is rotting and it's held on with clips and it's stretched over his face. It's gross. It's real gross and weird. And this kind of has that same feeling. But it doesn't make sense in the world because they could just transplant the skin.
Mm-hmm. And actually sew it on instead of just
stapling it.
The one thing that really cracks me up about that character though, he's got a fucking accent that the other ones don't have.
Right. It's weird. It's like Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah. A little bit. I mean, the accent isn't, but the fact that he has an accent where the other characters don't.
The characters in the same family.
They're just...
And they're all Italian?
Maybe.
And
I can't even... This character cracks me up, though. And I don't think he's supposed to. Maybe.
So we're introduced to these characters after meeting Roddy Largo, and we get the news that Roddy is dying of a terminal disease, and it's underplayed in a movie that does not know subtlety.
To the point where I forgot that he was sick until he
brings it up
later on.
He brings it up in a couple of songs that he's dying, and he coughs.
Completely forgot.
Yeah,
I completely forgot at that point. I'm like, oh. Why is he coughing? And then you were like, because he's dying, he's terminally ill. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Duh.
This is another thing where I say it's kind of like Rocky Horror. Because you ever realize that in Rocky Horror, Frankenfurter was dating Eddie?
Yeah, and I picked that up.
It's a bit of dialogue that gets blown over.
Because he made Eddie.
He puts half of... No, he didn't make Eddie.
He didn't...
Eddie, he picked up Eddie.
It seemed implied.
He took half of Eddie's brain and put it inside of Rocky.
Oh.
See?
Okay.
Little details like that get lost in these kinds of movies because they don't know subtlety. And there's so much in-song moments that are crucial to the plot that anything not in song kind of gets forgotten about. Mm. I wouldn't even say that that's a bad thing because it does play into the songs. He does mention it in some songs, and he coughs, and it's a major plot point that you do pick up on, even if you couldn't hear what they were saying there.
Mm. Yeah, but I didn't have the attention span. I'm sorry, and I'm going to say I love this movie. It was a thrill ride for me, from beginning to end, and I've seen it twice before, but it's one of those things where when you're just not paying really close attention to the movie, and then you just pick up on little things later on when you see it again. Yeah.
With having met the main antagonist, getting the plot moving about dying, we know the repo man, we know the sick daughter. We've got ourselves the skeleton for our opera, which is the intertwining story of all these characters, and there are flashbacks through more comic book vignettes.
Oh yeah, those are really cool. I like them.
I do too.
I think while they could have done little flashbacks of with the actors and stuff, I feel like it would cut away and make the movie longer than it needed to be.
Yeah. So we have our ensemble. We have the music that is amazing.
The music is the reason you need to see this movie.
The colors,
100%.
The colors are really good. The scenic design, the cinematography is all very dark. Great. My biggest issue is actually with the lighting.
Oh, I like the fact that it was very dark.
It's so dark, but it's not like a DC movie where it's dark and you can't tell what's going on. It's simply poorly lit at moments. There are numerous songs throughout the movie where their brow is casting a shadow on their eyes. Mm-hmm. You can't really see their face very clearly. And it's not in a stylistic way. It's just poorly lit.
Mm. I mean, I can see that, yeah, and I'll give you that. I just think I like the darkness. I like the fact that it felt dark, and the aesthetic of that movie was darkness, and that was the whole point.
I totally agree. but there are ways to establish a mood and convey darkness without skimping on the lighting design.
Without being that dark.
Yeah. And like I said, it wasn't even that it was dark, because it was fine in places. There's just other times where it was terrible.
Well, you had mentioned the fact that you weren't really the biggest fan of the fact that it was shot on a digital camera, you said?
Correct. There was a big movement in the early 2000s.
I recall these things.
When,
because I was old enough. Stop!
There was a big movement in the early 2000s when digital cameras became more accessible, and there are still movies that are shot on digital cameras. But when it comes to a home release of these movies, they don't scale well, because it's just pixels on the screen.
Pixels on the screen.
Movies shot with a digital camera are not inherently bad, but it does not play nice with the fact that it's so dark. Because darker images is when digital cameras struggle picking it up.
They're like,
And when you brighten it up in post, you start to see artifacts of little pixelated clouds just in the image, because there's nothing for it to brighten there, except for pixels of black.
I didn't notice it until you actually described it as the noise.
Right.
Like
it looks like static
noise. Yeah.
Visual noise, static noise, and that's what it ends up looking like. Where a movie shot on film, edited on film, and then converted into a digital file afterwards for home release, or even for theatrical release, it's fine. Then you are able to control the exact color temperature of the pixels, because there's no pixels. It's simply parts of the film that didn't get exposed to light. It is harder to light for a film being shot on film, but they've been doing it for 100 years. So what's your problem?
What's the problem?
That's why I appreciate, the filmmakers that do use actual film. Marvel does it well with digital because they don't darken their scenes.
They're always pretty bright, usually. They're very, very light. Very, in your face and bold, usually.
Yeah. The movie thrives in the smaller set pieces, but as a musical...
We're gonna cut that, right?
Of course. We're gonna cut this. And even as a musical, in those smaller moments where it's two people talking, in the way that an opera is sung through and it's quick dialogue sung through, it did it great. There's a moment where Shiloh gets a phone call on her wrist communicator thing.
The people.
It's an Apple Watch from 12 years ago.
It's a Fitbit.
And she's having a conversation with her father.
Sorry.
She's having a conversation with her father over the phone. She's somewhere she's not supposed to be. Out at the Genetic Opera, or the fair around it. It's never really made clear. There's a lot of things not made clear in this movie.
It's okay.
And he is out ripping a dude's spine out.
The spineless little coward.
They're having a casual conversation.
How are you doing? I'm really sick.
The next thing that happens is Roddy starts laying the seeds of information to undermine Nathan and take revenge because Nathan stole his girl.
Nathan is the father. My father, by the way. Just a reminder. And the girl is his daughter.
And
Shiloh,
we start getting more and more of this story that is the intertwining tales of these two families. And we also get introduced to the best character in the movie, Blind Mag.
She's my favorite. I love her. She's beautiful. First off, character design itself, stunning. She is absolutely beautiful. Her wardrobe is phenomenal. The first time you see her, she's in this amazing dress, and I was like, can I wear that dress? It's beautiful. I love it. Second, okay, so they have, her name is Blind Mag, obviously blind, right? Gene Co. Well, not anymore, because Gene Co gave her some eyes.
And these eyes do some cool shit.
Those eyes are snazzy little things, right?
Absolutely. Her eyes are these big blue?
They're like kind of
teal?
They're like
cyan.
They're definitely burgundy.
I'm not good at naming colors.
They're okay. So first off, they're like really bright, like almost to the point where they're like almost gray.
And they're big. The irises are big.
They're humongous.
These are
anime
prosthetic eyes. Yeah. Please never do that again.
I'll do what I want.
Blind Mag is introduced, and when she sees Shiloh, it's like a moment for her.
A boner moment. No, I'm just kidding.
Shiloh is 17 in this movie.
An illegal boner.
It's come to be revealed that everything is revealed in comic book flashbacks. So if you hate these, you're gonna have to sit through a lot of them.
Yeah, they're good though. They're interesting. Deal with it.
Yeah, this is good backstory that would have turned it into a 3-hour movie, which I still would have watched.
I would have watched it too, actually.
But producing a 3-hour opera would have been really hard, especially if it's an original like this one was.
It's so good. It's so good. Please it's so good.
Watch it. Please watch this movie. Somebody please clap. Blind Mag confronts Shiloh at her home and just info dumps that she thought that Shiloh was dead and that she is her godmother.
Godmom.
I'm gonna let that
slide.
pass. I'm gonna let it slide because godmother would be really hard to fit in the rhyme scheme that they had set up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give them a slide because Blind Mag is probably the best performance in this movie.
She's beautiful and amazing, and her singing
is good.
Me. It's so good at I would be happy buried to that.
This is also her final performance with Jinko because she's moving on to bigger and better things, as all performers do. However, like everyone who gets new body parts from Jinko, she has a contract. Mm-hmm. Her contract is that she will perform at the Genetic Opera. It's not just a crazy title for the movie, it's what happens. It's a Genetic Opera hosted by Jinko. And she is contracted to perform indefinitely. And when she leaves and her contract is voided, her eyes are going to be given back to Jinko. They're going to be repossessed.
By the REPO Man. Who also happens to be Shiloh's father, who was, Shiloh's mother was like best friends with Blind Mag. And that's why they were like, that's what they said in the movie. So they were like best friends.
If this sounds like the rambling gossip of a couple of, just teenagers, that's all that operas are.
Oh yeah, that's
it is a he said, she said, who they slept with, who she slept with. That's all that operas are.
I slept with him, who slept with her, who slept with them, who slept with me again, and then
Jack just slept with everybody.
Shut up.
That's why I think this works not just as a movie or a musical, but as an opera. If you want to explain what opera is like to someone who cannot stand the music or doesn't want to sit and listen to it, this is not a bad place to start to explain how operas are usually these grandiose and elaborate and kind of melodramatic. Intertwining stories, multiple characters. You're going to think, oh, who's this guy? Who's that guy?
I think of it like Shakespeare. Like the way Shakespeare had written how, like, each character has a part in somebody, like, the main character's life. And how, like, each story behind the scenes connects some way to the main story. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that this movie really does explain what an opera is at a very accessible level.
And it's actually really cool.
It really is.
It's really cool.
We move ahead and Roddy calls father in about a new job, another repossession, and it's for Blind Mag's eyes. The reason all of this happens is because Marnie, Shiloh's mother, was engaged to Roddy and then left him at the altar for Nathan.
The father/repo man.
Yes. So as a way to take revenge, when Marnie started getting sick and he was trying to cure her, Roddy snuck some drugs and poisoned
Marnie, the mom.
who was pregnant, and in a rush to be only able to save one, he saved the child. The villain, Roddy, is not quite satisfied with taking away Nathan's wife. He wants to take his daughter, and he does that by enticing her, offering her a cure to her disease.
Her illness, her infected genetics.
And that brings us to the opera, and at the opera tonight, everything is revealed, and it's such a good song, building up the tension, and seeing all these pieces come together. You know, the repo man who has to come to terms with killing a lifelong friend of his.
He didn't end up doing that, though.
Spoilies.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. Didn't end up happening. So, sorry.
Nathan has to come to terms with killing a lifelong friend and repossessing her eyes. Roddy but gets to see everything come together. His children are going to see who is going to inherit the company when he passes.
Which was set up to be Shiloh, actually, because he wanted her to do some bad things.
He mostly wanted to show that his children were not worthy of the company, which I think is an important lesson that the kids needed to learn. And here at the opera, we have Shiloh tasked with stopping the rogue repo man, which is just setting up the confrontation of the daughter and the father in a very dramatic and another amazing song, Let the Monster Rise. And we get to see he realizes he has to do what he has to do to save his daughter, and that's going to be killing Roddy so that he can set everything straight. Mag takes her own eyes. Roddy kills her by dropping her on a spike that was on the set piece. This is all happening in front of a live audience as well. Yeah. This is the genetic opera that the entire movie has been leading up to.
Which probably wasn't exactly planned out to be like that, I'm sure.
No, of course not.
He's like, bitch, I'll kill you anyway.
Waiting for the intermission, I guess, to end, Shiloh gets to the stage running away from her father. Nathan comes behind, and they open the curtain, and Roddy belts out that he's terminally ill. And he announces he's going to leave the entire company to Shiloh if she shoots her father. Now, there was a lot of tension between the two of them, and she even said, go and die. You know, teenage angst. It's rough.
17 and angry.
Yeah, but...
Found out your dad's just stealing people's organs.
I mean, he's not. He's repossessing.
You're
killing people, is what he's doing.
Dad,
stop it.
God, you're so embarrassing.
Dad, you're embarrassing me.
Oh my God, Dad, you need to stop, Dad.
Dad, stop talking about work.
Okay.
It's a lot to take in at one moment. She isn't able to do it. And lights go black.
Somebody shoots somebody.
Lights go out. It's really obvious who it is.
I wasn't paying enough attention.
And Roddy shoots Nathan, who is bound in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
Roddy dies, and Nathan and Shiloh have a nice little song, a sweet song that I didn't appreciate when I first saw this movie, because I watched it when I was like 16. Now, 10 years, 11 years later, I appreciate that it's a really good and emotional, heartfelt song. And the company ends up getting left to Amber Sweet, a.k.a. Paris Hilton.
Who is also addicted to the knife.
And then we get a little epilogue from the grave robber. Again, just setting this as, this is just what happens in this crazy-ass world.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's the end of the movie right there. It has its flaws. Cannot deny that. But
it's worth it.
It is absolutely worth it.
100%.
Absolutely. It's campy. People that are into musicals are really going to like it.
People who aren't, I'm not a person who's super into musicals, but the music in and of itself is amazing. It's okay. So for those of you who don't know, if you're into like a little on the gothy industrial hard rock metal kind of side, this music will be right up your alley. Like, no joke.
Even if you don't want to check out the movie, check out the soundtrack. It's great.
The soundtrack alone will get you to want to watch it.
Absolutely. Visually, it's great. It's not perfect.
Perfect. It's a little messy sometimes. Yeah. Not super great, but it's not. Oh no, it's pretty good. It's definitely good.
Yeah.
It's not
when I talk about a movie being competently made, this movie barely reaches that mark. But it by no means
was Cats.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. It by no means was Cats. By no means does its technical shortcomings ruin the experience of watching it. The one scene for the song "Infected" did make me a little nauseous.
Well, that's because you kind of can't handle.
I'm a little,
jumpy,
yeah. Strobe lights make me pretty dizzy, and for a movie to intentionally put that, to cut it like that, it's not great. That one moment though. Mm-hmm. I would say that everything else is pretty solid, and I said this before. This movie definitely would have been helped with a larger budget. Mm-hmm. You can tell a lot of the budget went to paying Paris Hilton and the gore. All right, let's get ready to wrap this up. What would you score this movie?
Okay, so I've decided that if I'm going to score a movie, I'm going to use my own specific rating system. We're going to call it Jack Snacks. So, out of 5 Jack Snacks, I'm going to give this a 4 because I love it.
You give it a 4?
I give it a 4 out of 5, which is pretty high. But I didn't get to do that for Cats. Maybe should I do that for Cats?
I don't think it's worthy of a score.
Like a half a Jack Snack.
Half a Jack Snack?
Not even a full pudding snack.
I'm gonna give Repo 4 buckets of popcorn.
4 buckets of popcorn.
4 buckets of popcorn. Mm-hmm. Out of 5.
How big are these popcorns? Are they the large kind?
They're the large.
Oh, wow. 4 of them. I can't
those.
even handle one, and I can handle some snacks. They call me Snacklin because I snack so much.
I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5 because it holds up really well on its own. It's campy. It's fun. It could have been better, but it's not that it wasn't... It's not that it fell short due to a lack of trying.
They did really well with what they had, is what we're trying to say.
Absolutely. And going back, I'm going to give Cats a red vine out of 10.
A red vine. I absolutely hate red vines. So.
They're disgusting. Thank God. I know a lot of people that I've said I prefer Twizzlers over red vines, and they get upset.
I prefer Twizzlers.
I'll give Cats a red vine out of 10, and I'll give Repo 4 out of 5 popcorn buckets.
Large popcorns.
Large. With a free refill.
Large.
I'm going to take the large popcorn with the free refill. I'll be back. I'm going to be back.
I'm going to be back. Can I also weigh your skin?
Oh, we didn't even touch on that. The
skin wearing?
No, we did touch on that, but the parallels between Nathan and Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
Nathan has a pretty, he's got some floofy short hair, but he slicks it back when he's the Repo Man, and he looks a lot like Dennis Hopper. Is that who played it?
No, it's Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
Dennis Hopper is what is his main roles?
When he slicks his hair back to be the Repo Man, he looks like Hannibal Lecter.
I'm going to go ahead and throw out there that there's one particular scene which Anthony over there does not recall because he doesn't know. I'm going to make him watch Silence of the Lambs. But one scene in particular where Hannibal Lecter is in he's in solitude in jail, and his escape. If anybody who knows this knows what I'm talking about, where he steals the guard's baton and beats the guard to death with it. And there's a scene where he's kind of they show the face, and he's his hand movements are slashing back and forth. There's a scene in Repo where Nathan, the repo man, is doing a very similar act, slicing and dicing somebody up in those same back and forth kind of slashing hand motions with his hair slicked back and like the crazy look in his eyes. And I'm like, oof, he can do that to me.
Yes, Father.
Yes, Father.
All right, this has been fun. This has been fun. I love this movie so much.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to watch it again at some point this week.
So, what are we going to do next week?
Last week's choice was Jac's.
Oh, wait. Oh, yes. Okay.
Jac really wanted to do Cats. I wanted to do this one because of the parallels. Next time, Jac wants to do...
I want to do Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That's the top one that I want to do. But
I think first we need to address the fact that we got a request.
We got a request! Wibbles!
So I think next week we're going to have to watch the Boondock Saints.
I've seen it before, but I've only seen it once.
I have never seen it.
Oh, it's actually really cool. You'll like it, I promise you.
All right, next week.
And you're going to get a little bit of like a weird man crush on some of these dudes in there. So.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Uh-huh.
I've been recommended this movie before, but this is my first time having a recommendation for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This one's for you, Webbles.
Webbles! Sorry.
Until next time, Jac, let's watch something.
Let's watch something.
I dropped my water.